Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watch One, and thanks for logging on. Today we have a special guest, a high office holder. This is the Rolex Oyster Perpetual Day-Date, reference 18238, better known as the Rolex President. 36 millimeters in classical 18-karat yellow gold. This is the 1988 to roughly 1999 double quickset, the first of the double quickset generation. Now, the watch debuted in 1955 as the first model ever created that had both a automatic movement and a separate day and date indication. Rolex proceeded to put this watch on the wrist of every president from Kennedy through Bush Sr., and thus it earned its nickname, President, in the process. Now, plenty of Presidente and outright dictators have enjoyed this watch likewise, so it's really the power watch. Not so much the president as it is an icon of power, prestige, and high office. It's also remarkably unchanged. Since its original emergence in the mid-50s, it's remained a precious metal 36mm automatic winding day-date watch, almost invariably with a fluted bezel and this bracelet, which, unlike the watch, is properly named the President. Now, the day-date on my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters, really reads as a classical dress Rolex. Long before Rolex made the transition from sports watches to status symbols, the day-date was the symbol of status. Beautiful to look at and beautifully proportioned. It didn't really have to change because Rolex got it so right out of the gate. Now, my wrist is 6 1/3 inches in circumference, and you can see that the ergonomics of this watch are superb. It has a nice cushion profile to it. Every Rolex, because of the integrated end links, sits more or less like a cushion case, and the bracelet is exceptionally supple. So no matter how small your wrist, and I mean you can wear this down to below 5.5 inches in circumference, it sits low. It's just over 11 millimeters thick, and at 36 millimeters wide, it's only about 45 millimeters lug to lug. There's no wrist that can accommodate this watch, but because of the power of yellow gold, I mean, it is an eyeful. It is absolutely eye-catching. It is a material that has a singular presence that largely explains its legendary status almost irrespective of culture or time period. In yellow gold, this watch jumps. And this one's unique because it's so color coordinated. The day disc, the date disc, the applied Roman numerals, the dial, the hands, the bracelet, the case, the end links, and the clasp itself are all composed of 18-karat yellow gold, not to mention that twin-lock oyster crown right there. Think about how many new full bracelet yellow gold watches came out at Salon International and Basel World this year. That's right, hardly any. Yellow gold has become something of a rarity, and that's because few have the confidence and the panache to wear it effectively. I would beg to differ. I think that yellow gold is the purest and the most apropos material for a day-date, and this Rolex double quickset day-date looks and feels superb on the wrist. I want to focus a little bit on the bracelet and the clasp because, as I suggested earlier, the watch is nicknamed the President, but the bracelet really is called the President bracelet. Now, there are three principal Rolex bracelet types. There are others to be sure, but the principal ones are the Oyster 3-link that you know from the sports watches, the 5-link little loop Jubilee. It's a more delicate model, often seen on Datejust, often seen on some older GMTs, ladies' watches, occasionally seen on the Day-Date. But the bracelet that's really defined this watch, that's most closely associated with it, is this 3-link, semicircular link President bracelet. It's beautiful, it's beautifully finished, and it's got one heck of a cool and memorable trick up its sleeve. Now you can see the level of detailing here. The center links are all polished. The side links feature a delicate brushing pattern, nicely integrated via corresponding end links with the case. It has a remarkably supple quality to it, inasmuch as the links individually are much smaller, so there's a greater amount of flexibility between them. So if you're familiar with the Rolex 3-link Oyster bracelet, you really need to give this a try. Much more comfortable. This is a bracelet that packs the comfort of a strap. Ergonomically, I just want to show it to you on my wrist one more time. You can see how perfectly it curves to accommodate the edge of my wrist. Now my wrist is kind of round on the side, flat on the top, more or less oval in profile, but so often you'll see a large, bulky, minimally linked bracelet or a stiff strap shooting out almost at an angle and making an angular turn around my wrist. Not here. You can see the circular curvature of this President bracelet. Because the links are so small, it conforms precisely with no pressure points, no hot spots. But the star of the show is, without a doubt, the crown clasp, the stuff of legend among true Rolex connoisseurs. The crown clasp is seamless. Unlike the Oyster with its bulky Oyster clasp, the crown clasp seamlessly integrates the bracelet into one looped continuity of links. You can't see the spot where the break occurs. It's almost completely invisible to an onlooker. All you see is the marker at the point of parting, the 5-point Rolex coronet that you see here. You simply take hold of it and you open the bracelet. You can see it's very simple but beautifully made. Brushed, no attention to detail is spared here. And because you can see the crown clasp is your only cue as to where it parts, detail is paramount. Now, some have asked how this bracelet's adjusted, and I just thought I'd shed some light on that. There are adjustable links here that can be removed individually. I know in the past we've had some day-dates on the channel that were sized down and didn't include these links, and some were wondering, well, how on earth do you remove a link? Well, you just remove one of the specially equipped, screwed-in adjustable links. It's that simple. It works just like an Oyster. I just wanted to clarify that for those who have any questions about fit. Now, inside the watch beats the heart of the entire beast. This is the Rolex caliber 3155 Oyster Perpetual bidirectional automatic winding, and it featured a couple of important refinements when this model, the 18238 generation, bowed in 1988. The two big changes on a substantive basis were the full balance bridge to add additional stability and resistance to shock, so you could wear it more like a sports watch, and then the headliner, double quickset. When the first day-dates came out, you literally had to spin the hands to cycle through an entire week and an entire calendar month. In 1977, the caliber 3055 came online, and now we had a quickset system, so we could rotate quickly through the date. 1988, finally, we have a quickset for both the day and the date. So this double quickset model, the first of its kind, elevated the President from the level of a luxurious watch to look at and wear to a convenient and luxurious experience to operate. As ever, all of Rolex's hallmarks are present in this movement. It has their perpetual bidirectional winding. You can barely hear the rotor. I mean, you really have to put it up to your ear and shake it. With Teflon reversing wheels and fully loaded winding in both directions, it has none of the Valjoux wobble or the unidirectional wobble that you see on some efficient but coarse movements. Rolex's hallmark, the jeweled staff pivot for the rotor, the bidirectional winding, the Teflon-coated reversing wheels makes this incredibly smooth and efficient. 48-hour power reserve, so despite the complication, the watch has a good power reserve solidly above the industry average 42. Now, it is a COSC certified Swiss chronometer, so it keeps the standards set down by the COSC, and that is -4 + 6 per 24 hours. No more deviation than that, tested through 6 positions. Rolex, since the 80s, has gone one step better, testing the watches in the case, whereas COSC applies to the bare movement tested out of the case. Every Rolex is then tested after being cased up, hence the term superlative chronometer blazoned on that gold dial. I do want to focus a little bit on the gold dial before I let you go, because this watch, featuring nothing but yellow gold, is really a standout, reading almost as much a bracelet as a watch. It's a true borderline piece that splits the difference between high horology and high jewelry, and the dial, with applied 18-karat yellow gold Roman numerals and hands, is really a big part of that effect. Now, it's a classical look with the Romans and a sector or railroad chapter ring for the minute track outboard of the Roman numerals. Originally a tritium dial, this one being built in 1991 has aged to the point where the tritium dots are now the same golden color as the dial itself. When combined with the metallic day and date disc, it has a monotone, seamless look to it. I would say the integration of this watch with all the tones in one, all of the tones corresponding, it rivals the best of the Gerald Genta integrated bracelet watches of the 70s, and even surpasses them in as much as no traditional IWC Jumbo Ingenieur or Patek Philippe Nautilus or Audemars Piguet Royal Oak features a dial and date disc that correspond perfectly to the color of the case, the bezel, the bracelet, and the clasp. This is a uniquely integrated version of an important Rolex reference, also a mechanical innovator and milestone. If you were to chart the history of the significant landmark Rolex watches, you would definitely highlight the debut of the Rolex Day-Date in 1955, and the next tick on the chart, the next milestone for the Day-Date would undoubtedly be the arrival of the double quickset in the late 80s. And this 1991 Rolex Oyster Perpetual Day-Date, 36 millimeters in 18 karat yellow gold, is an outstanding specimen of the breed.